All right, we are back on the Andre Duke Show with Carter Smith. Carter, how we doing, man?
Doing great, man. Doing great. It's a nice little freaky Friday, fun Friday, whatever you want to call it. I mean, it's the weekend. It's here, getting through it. Had a great week, man. Really excited for this weekend. Got a couple things planned, some fun stuff to do. No football for the first weekend in God, it's been a long time, man. I mean, when's the last time we didn't have football on a weekend?
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah. No football, so I really don't know what to do with myself. I'm going to do some stuff around the house, probably maybe go to a movie or something. I don't even know. I don't even know what to do. But there's nothing going on. So I could watch college basketball, I guess. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to see if there's any golf on. Oh, Brendan's here. Brendan, I was about to check in on you. I got to be honest with you. I was like, Brendan has not been in the chat in a while. I hope he's okay. He finally recovered from the championship game. I appreciate you taking that time, doing what you had to do for your own mental health. I appreciate that. But, Duke, how's your week been? What are you doing this weekend? What are we smoking up tomorrow?
I don't know if I'm going to get the smoker out 100% yet. I got some people that coming by the house, and
Keel's here.
Oh no,
where's my DJ boy Keel in the chat?
Where's DJ at?
DJ, he's probably getting some eggs.
Yeah, but. Yeah, as we get rolling, I don't have a whole lot going on this weekend. It's going to be a, slow-moving weekend. We're getting a bunch of rain here in Northeast Indiana, so can't really do a whole lot. That is why I don't know if I'm going to get the smoker out. It's same old, but.
You can smoke in the rain. It's okay.
Well,
you close the lid and it smokes on just fine.
Well, it's not so much that. It's just more or less just the logistics of doing everything.
Yes, I get it.
Because where I keep my smoker in my garage and I wheel it out and then going in and out of the house tracking water in. But
I got you. Well, it is. I mean, what are we, Freaky Friday, I guess? I don't know. It's Friday. And so we're doing a new thing here on the show. Fridays are going to be Fan Fridays. So anybody in the chat, we're going to let you kind of drive the show. I mean, we got topics to talk about. We'll talk about stuff. But, if you guys in the chat have questions, have topics, anything you want us to just off the cuff talk about, put it in the chat. We'll talk about it. It could be a quick, answer to a question, a couple minutes, maybe a couple seconds, or it could lead to a longer discussion. So we will let you guys drive the show on Fridays. Let's see what Brendan had to say here. I know I needed a solid month of daily shrooms for my soul searching. Hey, you got to do what you got to do. That was a day. We got Ohio Buckeye Mark in here. Go Bucks. Jay Grizz. What's up, fellas? Appreciate everybody tuning in. Let's go ahead and get into some social media stuff, and as you guys come up with topics, we'll talk about everything. So I saw this today, and I thought it was interesting. So there's a lot of second-year coaches in college football this year, and they were given some grades, and. Tell me, what do you think about these grades? I think obviously Kenny Dillingham. I mean, how could you give him anything lower than an A?
Well, Kenny Dillingham. I'll just run down the list and give you my thoughts.
Yeah.
Dillingham, no issues. Arizona State played outstanding this year. Actually picked last by the media in the conference. We seen how that shaped out for all their media people that were in the conference. I mean, they picked them last, so we'll see. Going down, Deion Sanders, I thought, Colorado, there was a lot of I wouldn't say issues, but there was a lot of stuff surrounding that program. I think that they, pretty much hit their peak. They won 9 games. They got, I think the bowl game was tough for them to get up for, in my opinion. It didn't really.
Okay. I'll let you go. But why? Why is it tough to get up for? What have you ever won? Why is it I get why SEC schools that are expecting a natty can't get up for some bullshit bowl game. But if you're Colorado, what have you ever won? Why are you not excited to play in a bowl game?
Well, I think the Colorado thing is that you had, and this is the fundamental issue with the transfer portal, because they had guys leaving, guys wanting to come, and the whole thing was a mess. And I'm not just talking Colorado specifically. I think the whole thing was a mess. And whenever you're going to be a top 5 pick, why? I mean, they lost to BYU. I mean, BYU, I think, was probably one of the best teams in the Big 12. I couldn't spit it out there for a second, but Colorado, we'll see what they'll be next year.
Okay, no. Before we move on from that, so you brought top 5 picks. Did their top 5 picks play?
Yeah, they did play.
Yeah, no, I know. So why? If you aren't going to get up for the bowl game, if it's not a meaningful game, why are you playing?
I think it had a lot to do with Shador's dad's the coach. So
I don't give a shit. Listen, I get, this is what pisses me off about the whole narrative about they weren't excited to play this bowl game. Then motherfucker don't play. Because there's a bunch of kids on the bench that would be thrilled as hell to play that game.
Oh.
And so if you aren't going to get up for it, if you're Shador Sanders and you're going out there and you're just going through the motions, don't play. Don't play. I don't care your dad's the coach. Don't play. And if you're going to play, go out there like it means something. It's an opportunity. I get so upset with that because I don't subscribe to that mentality. And I think that's bullshit.
Well,
all it is they got beat and you want an excuse for why they got beat. That's all it is.
Well, and I don't think they were locked in that whole week because if you paid attention to social media, the guys were out fat and happy. I mean, they haven't won a bowl game since 2004. So it's SOB, same old Buffs. Whenever we move down the list, Hugh Freeze, the big thing with Freeze, in my opinion, the Auburn fans are going to get mad at me when I say this. He didn't go out and get a quarterback in the portal, and I think that's what killed them. It hurt them a lot because, obviously Peyton Thorne, and then, he goes out and gets Jackson Arnold. Will that fix the Freeze issue in Auburn? But the one thing I'll caution the Auburn fan is, you guys, you ran Malzahn out of there. You've ran everybody out of there. They put up with Tuberville for a while, but they were gonna run Tommy Tuberville out of there too. And they should have won a national championship when Tommy Tuberville was the coach. They got screwed on that deal. I just feel like if you let Freeze have time to build it, in this, the depth illusion is an illusion thing. I don't know where you kind of go from there because you went with the outside guy. You went out and got Brian Harsin, and that obviously didn't work. And I'm just saying this much: for as much as they ran Bo Nix out of there, the guy that's going to finish second in Rookie of the Year voting, that Bo Nix couldn't play. He couldn't play, but he took the Broncos, were one of the bottom dwelling teams in the NFL. He took them to the playoffs. So Bo Nix couldn't play, but when you walk in the football facility, it says the Nix Family Center. I don't know, but
that's not because of Bo, but yeah.
But I'm just saying, They hate him so much. His name's right. His family's last name's right there when he walks in.
His family donated a lot of money to get that done.
When you walk in the football building, you gotta see his name. But I'm just saying.
But anyway, enough about that. Hugh Freeze, I agree. D+ is putting it lightly. There's no Hugh Freeze is a joke. Let's be honest. Dude's a joke. Hasn't succeeded anywhere. He's a joke.
He was on the verge of succeeding at Ole Miss when he was there.
Yeah, when he was paying people illegally.
Well, now it's legal.
Yeah, and he's not as good at it.
I mean, go look at the top 10 prospects in Alabama right now.
And we'll see how that pans out. That looks good for this year, but he's done nothing anywhere he's ever been.
8 of 10 are going to.
It took Nick Saban retiring for him to do that, but yeah.
Well, I mean, he's beat Nick Saban before. Something that I think. So, I mean,
good for him. There's quite a few people that have.
I mean, people want to bag on Hugh all that you can pile on him.
I'll bag on Hugh all day. He's never accomplished anything. He has 0 accomplishments in his career.
I mean,
sorry,
head football coach at Auburn. So,
yeah. Well, I mean, I guess if that's an accomplishment, sure.
There's only 16, 17, 18 SEC jobs, and they're not they just don't hand them out.
Kind of think they do. Look at Sam Pittman. Well, anyways, let's continue. We don't need to get into this tonight. I'm just saying he's never accomplished anything. He's been given all the resources in the world, and he's never accomplished anything really. But yeah, no, he sells a good dream. Players don't like him. Nobody wants to play for him. It's gonna end badly. If I'm being honest, Auburn's gonna end badly. He's never gonna win anything there. They're gonna be on the next coach in 2 years.
I just think that changing coaches all the time and firing like that it doesn't help your program, and it makes people not want to come to your program.
Yeah, but keeping terrible coaches doesn't help either.
I don't understand I mean, I get it, Freeze had the off the field stuff, but
it wasn't off the field. He cheated at Ole Miss. He was Jim Harbaugh before Jim Harbaugh.
Well, I don't know. I don't think Harbaugh was doing what Freeze was doing.
No, actually, correct. Harbaugh was less of a cheater.
I mean,
but
I would say the biggest accomplishment in Hugh's tenure when he was at Ole Miss, he won the Sugar Bowl.
Yeah, he won the Sugar Bowl, and he had Laramie Tunsil. Those are his 2 greatest accomplishments.
It just
Unfortunately, he paid probably $10 million for the roster that couldn't even get past the Sugar Bowl, and that was before you were allowed to pay for rosters. Anyways,
that was common practice, but it's one of those that
it was, yeah.
If you
just ask Alabama Jones.
I'm just saying, if you look at everybody's yard, there's shit in the front yard. But I'm just saying,
tends to be in the South. But
hey,
anyways, let's finish this list out.
Scott Satterfield at Cincinnati. I think Cincinnati is a tough job.
That is. Actually, to be honest with you, the next 3, I mean, okay. Like Satterfield, I don't think he did a bad job. They weren't as good as you thought they'd be, but it's Cincinnati. Georgia Tech, I mean, good luck. Louisville, good, I guess.
I have an issue with the Georgia Tech thing because after they fired Jeff Collins, they literally gave him no resources.
Yeah.
And then they go out and raise $40 million for the athletic department. Like, come on.
Yeah. No, I'm with you on that. But
and the last one, Jeff Brom won games at Purdue. I don't know if you've ever been to Purdue's campus. Not a lot going on there, but
and he's back in Louisville. I mean, I give him an A-. That's fine. He did an okay job. He's fine. I don't have a problem with it. But outside of all that, like I said, this is a Fan Friday, so we're going to interact with the chat. We're going to let you guys dictate the show. So we have a bunch of comments here to get to us. First one I want to get to is this question from Brennan. What are we thinking about Coach Ash as DC? We talked about it a lot this week, and I think I'm pretty clear on my thoughts on it. I love it. I think he is an exceptional coach. I know him a little bit personally from his time at Ohio State, and I think he's great. I think he did a great job as a DC at Wisconsin and Ohio State. I think he had down years at Arkansas and Texas when he was a DC, but I think that had a lot to do with the talent on the roster at both places. I mean, you're talking about Tom Herman at Texas, who recruited defense about as good as Texas Tech, and you're talking about Arkansas, which is just that they don't get the level of recruits, but when he's at an elite place like in Ohio State, or even when he was at Wisconsin, he did a lot with that talent that he had, and he was great on defense. Obviously, head coach, he struggled at Rutgers, but again, Rutgers. So I love it. I know him. I know a lot about him. He's a phenomenal mind, a phenomenal defensive mind, and I think him and Marcus are going to work tremendously together. So Marcus is of the same lineage as Luke Fickell, and his best defenses ever, Chris Ash's, his best defenses ever were when he was working with Luke Fickell. So I think a lot of the reason that Marcus wanted to bring Chris Ash on is because he talked to Luke about it, and Luke speaks very highly of Chris Ash because Chris is, like I said, he's a brilliant defensive mind. He's a good recruiter. And I've heard a lot of people say like he can't recruit. Like, I don't know if you guys understand what he did at Ohio State in recruiting. He brought in some of the best recruiting classes in the country, and his background is in recruiting. He was a defensive backs coach and recruiting coordinator before he became a defensive coordinator. He is a recruiting guy. He absolutely can recruit, and I love it. I think it was a great hire. Of everybody out there, everybody that you could name that would be positioned to take the job at Notre Dame as DC, I think Chris Ash was number one on the list, and they went out and they got their guy. It's just my opinion. Duke, do you have any disagreements or anything?
Because everybody wants to bring up the defensive stats, you got to remember, because they want to get stuck on the Texas thing.
Yeah, that was also COVID year.
Well, and I'm not even talking that. I'm talking the style of offense that was played in the Big 12 at that time, because it was basketball on turf with Baker Mayfield. If you gave up 27 points, because
that's pretty goddamn good.
Because if you remember right, it was, what was it, like Baker and Mahomes combined one time for throwing the ball like 130 times.
Yeah, I mean that wasn't when Chris was there, but yeah, that was the same era. Yeah,
but you know, Gundy threw the ball all over the place. It's just I don't understand, because in each league it's different. Like if you go to the Big Ten during like the Tressel years, if you threw the ball 30 times, you were airing it out. You know, if you look at the scores that were in the Big Ten and you looked at the scores that were in the Big 12 in comparative in the conferences, the Big 12 the Big 12 defenses still haven't been great. Because if you compare their numbers nationally or just compare them to the Big Ten, their points per game average has been big time higher than everybody else. That's just all I'm saying. And at Arkansas, come on, what are we talking about here? Arkansas has nice facilities because Tyson Chicken likes Arkansas.
And that's also recent.
So it's one of those things that I think that you're wanting him to you're comparing apples and oranges going from Arkansas to Texas. It's two different things, in my opinion.
Well, and my thing is like, yeah, I agree. He gave up 27 points a game as a DC. That's not ideal. But if you look at the years that he was a DC at a Big Ten school or a DC with elite talent, he didn't. I mean, they had the number 4 scoring defense in the country when he was at Ohio State. They had the number 3 or 4 scoring defense at Wisconsin. I mean, he can coach defense. Let's not get it wrong. And he didn't have the staff that they have around him. And I'll highlight this comment before I get too much further. Is that Notre Dame already has 2 defensive coordinators on staff. Right, Marcus Freeman is the elitist of elite defensive coordinators, and he can help. And then you have Mickens, who has been a DC and could have been the DC this time. And you're going to retain both those guys. Obviously, Marcus, head coach, he's going to have other stuff to do. But you're going to retain Mickens. I mean, he's going to have plenty of help around him. I'm not concerned about the defensive coaching at all. When we bring this up, get back to the Shador not beating BYU. I'm sure he intended to go out there and thought he was going to have a walk in the park and show out for NFL scouts. Yeah, you knew that when he showed up in New York Giants cleats. He thought it was just a showcase for him. Instead, he ended up having his ass handed to him by BYU. Agreed. Joe, I'm really glad you got here early. I guess we also started late, so that probably helped you. But okay, let's see. Go ahead.
One thing, Joe's from the East Coast.
Yeah.
Outside of Greg Schiano, I couldn't think of his name for a second. Outside of Greg Schiano, has anybody else been successful at Rutgers? You can't think of anybody.
No.
And
no.
Also, this is an elephant in the room. Rutgers actually adheres to their academic standards. I'm not pointing any fingers.
It sounds like you are.
But I'm just saying some of these schools that, some fan bases.
Well, Rutgers doesn't care about football.
Obviously. But some of these fan bases want to hide behind and say our academic standards are high, and I'm just like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Some of the guys that get in, I don't know.
Yeah. Brendan brought up, so this is a good conversation that we will have extensively this offseason, I promise you. But he wants TJ Carr to be the guy. Hopefully he plays the best in the spring game and he starts. Carr definitely played the best right out of high school. Last blue and gold. I agree. Carr looked great. I haven't done it yet, and we'll see. I'm going to wait until the spring happens before I actually analyze it. I don't have a problem with Angeli if that's the route they go. He looked good. I don't like certain things about Angeli. Carr gives you a different dimension. But I'm going to wait to hold any judgment on either of the guys through the spring. And they're going to go with the best guy for the job. And I don't have a problem with either one. Yeah, Joe, good point. I think you have to trust Freeman until Ash proves himself different. Agreed. I mean, I think it's a big win for Notre Dame. As an Ohio State fan, you remember what Chris Ash did at Ohio State. People forget that because it was back 10 years ago. But Chris Ash was a great assistant for Ohio State. Sid, more concerned about the GM than DC. I wouldn't be. From everything I'm hearing, I wouldn't be. I'm telling you right now, guys, if they land James Blanchard, which I believe fully they are going to, he's the real deal. He is an upgrade from Chad Bowden. He is.
Also, I would like to make a point on that. There's some big universities that, put the scouting plan together and they have a GM that does, some things. But I think at some programs, some coaches have the final say and not the personnel person. And with and it's going to be one of those, they're going to work with whoever the GM is. I don't doubt that. But the thing I'm more fascinated with, people think it's all going to fall apart. Do you think Ryan Day and Brian Hartline could recruit without Pantone? Do you think it would just house of cards? Boop, would it all fall apart?
No. House of Cards all fall apart? No.
Just saying.
But
would it
don't
make their
underestimate the value of Mark Pantoni.
Oh, I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying
there's a reason that GM is the fastest growing, highest paid position in college football. Because of stuff like that. Like Mark Pantoni, don't get me wrong, Brian Hartline and Ryan Day can recruit, but without without Mark Pantoni, I don't know if they land Jeremiah Smith.
I think there's a lot of factors that go into it,
and I just know Mark Pantoni's connections to South Florida. I know Mark Pantoni's connections in recruiting. I promise you. Not that Brian Hartline and Ryan Day don't have connections to South Florida Express. Not that they don't have people down there. Not that any of that. But they don't have the time to invest the resources that I know Pantoni did to land a kid of that caliber. So, they can still recruit at a high clip, but you've got to have a next level GM if you want to get to that next level. And that's what Ohio State has. That's what Notre Dame had in Bowden, and he was great. I'm not diminishing anything about him. But from everything I've heard, and I've talked to a lot of people that know him, and a lot of people that really want him to go to Notre Dame, and a lot of people that believe he is going to Notre Dame, James Blanchard is of the same – he's cut from the same cloth as Mark Pantoni, let's say. He's a little different in his personality, but he can get it done the same way.
Yeah, I just think at some point there's a jumping off spot whenever it comes to personnel decisions, because some coaches, like when push came to shove, who do you think had final say on a kid, Pantoni or Urban?
Oh, Urban.
So
I know that for a fact.
So I think
when you're talking about accepting a kid,
So I think that it'll be good to have somebody in that repertoire to have say and help the team form the roster, because with the roster limits that are may or may not coming, revenue sharing may or may not coming, and I don't want to spend hardly any time on this, but people think that settlement is final. It's not final. It's going to be tied up in court for a while. So I don't know. They might try to jam it through and do the revenue sharing to pacify the major conferences, because there's Big Ten schools and there's SEC schools that are really counting on that, whatever 22 or 25 million coming through. Because if it doesn't happen, it's not going to be good. The transfer portal will have so many kids in it in the whatever window they decide to put forth. It'll have so many kids in it, and it's going to be the biggest issue in college football. And then on top of that, you're going to have a ton of parents upset because their kids can't go to school because they had a scholarship. And then at some point in time, they're not going to have it. It's just going to be a complete and utter disaster. I try to tell people, and some people will either listen to it or they won't. And then just don't get mad at me whenever we get chats about, hey, why is this not? Why are they cutting this program? Gotta find money somewhere.
Yep. But moving on from that, I agree with you. But we'll get into that when it's time. But Sid brings this up. If you can't beat Texas Tech for a guy, what are we doing? I agree. However, it's not the first time he's tried to get him. And then let's let the chat continue. Marcus Freeman's changing things back to where the high expectations should actually be high, and I hope he will stay relentless. There was one. Yeah, this one's great. Whatever Brian Hartline sells, can it make billions? Yeah, he's next level at this recruiting thing. But here's the thing, and this is what I talked about in the offseason with Notre Dame, is you can, he did a great job initially. He was given a great room, not to boast anybody, but he was given a great room with Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, and those guys, right? And so those guys, he has given a great room, put them in the NFL, made his job easier. But he sold it. I mean, those guys could have left everything, but he sold a specific model, and he hasn't strayed from it, and he's followed through on everything he sells. Listen, if you come here, you're going to be developed. You're going to be a first-round pick. Look at how many first-round picks he has. It's not. I mean, that's why if you're Chris Henry Jr., if you're Jeremiah Smith, if you're Marvin Harrison, if you're any of these guys, and you want to be a first-round pick, why would you go anywhere else? This is the guy that develops more first-round picks than any other wide receivers coach in the country. Like, it's that easy. So no signs of slowing down. Let's get to a couple more things about Blanchard, and then we'll move on.
Commercial break.
Yeah, here let me get through a couple comments, and we'll do that. Singer said it's not a slam dunk. They get Blanchard. Yeah, and I know Singer is very tapped in, so I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it is a slam dunk. I'm just telling you what I've heard is that it's more than likely. And is Notre Dame going to Notre Dame this up? Don't get pessimistic on me, Sid. But regardless of who reports it on it, seems iffy to me. I expected to hear. So here's the thing. I'll push back on this because I agree. I expected to hear a deal by now. I also expected Chris Ash to be named defensive coordinator last week, and he wasn't. And I think it's a couple different reasons why these things take a little bit longer than you think they're going to. You hear the reports and you expect it to be like the NFL, right? Where it's like Shefty reports this and then boom, it's done. And college football moves slower, but also it's a cat and mouse game where, like with Chris Ash, Notre Dame and Chris Ash had an agreement in place, had an understanding in place. Jim Knowles left. Chris Ash went to Notre Dame and said, hey, I'm going to listen to this. And I know for a fact, Ohio State reached out to Chris Ash. They had their conversations, and Chris decided he wanted to go to Notre Dame still. So that's why it took longer. Same thing could be happening with Blanchard right now, where Blanchard and Notre Dame had an understanding like, yeah, I'm interested. Yeah, me too. Here's the numbers, blah, blah. Then he goes back to Texas Tech, and it's a leverage play. And so it might take a little bit longer, and I'm not saying for sure they get him, but I do think that it's more than likely that James Blanchard's the next GM at Notre Dame. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But let's go ahead and let's get a little commercial break here, and then we'll get back to it. The comments are flowing in, so I'll go ahead and reset it. If you guys are out there on Twitter, on YouTube, all that stuff, go ahead and hop over in the YouTube chat. Get in with Justin, Sid, Joe, all the dudes. All the people, not just dudes. We got females too. Get in here and hit the like and subscribe button. Hit the bell notifications. Let us know. And get in the chat tonight. Like I said, it's a Fan Friday. So, whatever you guys are talking about, we're going to talk about on the show. But I do want to get a word from our partner here real quick, and then we will be right back.
All right, what's up, guys? If you have been watching the show for a while, if you're like me, that you love a good nicotine pouch. So that's why we're super excited to offer our first ever promotion here on the show. ALP pouches, ALP pouches, the new standard in nicotine pouches. A better time without pouches. A better time isn't just a tagline, it's a promise. We love nicotine pouches, and we're here to share that love. Better products, better experiences, and a genuine commitment to a better world. That's why a portion of every sale goes to real causes, not political players. Simple, honest, and yes, better. Best part about ALP pouches is you get more pouches in every tin. That's right, you get 20 pouches per tin as opposed to the regular 15. Also, tins come in 3 different strengths from 3, 6, and 9 milligrams, so you can pick your strength. And amazing flavors. All the pouches come with enhanced moisture, so no more dry pouches chafing your lips or giving you cuts and scratches on your inner lips. They come in all sorts of great flavors, all your typical flavors, or try my favorite, the refreshing chill or the tropical fruit in the 9 milligram. ALP isn't just better, ALP is the new standard. Created by real users, not suits in a boardroom, we've made the product they never could. So go over to alppouch.com/Duke Show. That's ALPPOUCH.com/Duke show to get 10% off your first purchase of America's newest nicotine pouch, Standard.
Oh.
Yep, gotta unmute us.
Yeah, gotta unmute. I forgot to do that. But I have an out pouch in right now. It is phenomenal. If you are one of those nicotine users, go to outpouch.com/Duke Show. Get your pouches. They're phenomenal. But
what do you think of this?
Moving on a little bit here.
What do you think of this one?
From all the talking heads, it seems likely, but I don't trust Singer at all. Singer, I have nothing bad to say about Singer. He reports it. He does his job. Sometimes he's right. Sometimes he's wrong. It happens. I thought we stopped with backslashes. I don't know what that means, Joe. But getting back here, let's see. I just want to make sure. This is an interesting comment. Hartline is the wide receiver coach equivalent of Larry Johnson in his prime. How do you feel about that?
Well, I mean, the thing with Larry Johnson is that he's been doing it so long.
He said it. They said in their prime.
But I think that Hartline walked into a great situation at Ohio State. The room was in a good place. It's not like the Ohio State wide receiver room post Tressel. I'll just say that.
So, you mean when they moved Jake Stoneburner to wide receiver? Which is a good friend of mine. So I'm not no shade to Jake Stoneburner. Great guy, great wide receiver, but he was not a wide receiver.
But I'm just saying that, what a lot of this kind of depends on what you're taking over. At certain points of it, it's not like you got Philly Brown and the guys in there, and it's a little bit different, but it's just one of those things. But I think that back on the Blanchard thing,
yeah,
real quick, I got a couple of things on that. I don't know if the expectation that some people are going to have for him, it's, Notre Dame has struggled at the wide receiver position in recruiting. I think that, they got to start landing a couple of guys, and I think they might dip into the spring portal. Might. Maybe.
It depends on who's in the portal, but yeah.
I think that's going to be a lot of it. And a lot of it's going to be, the offense is going to be dramatically different with Carr and Angeli. This coming into this year. I don't know. I don't think Notre Dame gets a portal quarterback. Ewers declared.
They're not even looking.
So
everything I've heard, they're not even looking at portal quarterbacks at this point.
So it's in a good spot. They just gotta get guys that can get separation and But
that's not even the job of the GM. The GM doesn't evaluate talent. Like he helps, but that's not it. Like they need to improve their wide receiver recruiting for sure. That's a known fact, and I think they're well aware. Blanchard just, and this is Sid says it. Yeah, Blanchard. I trust Blanchard to have more in common with the players. No offense to Cott, but everything I've heard about Blanchard is he is an expert salesman, and not like salesman in like a dirty, slimy car salesman sort of way, but like there's some players, and he's a former player, first of all, which is huge. There's certain guys, like I'm telling you right now, if Tyvis Powell from Ohio State ever got into the job of recruiting, she would be one of the best recruiters in the world. just because of his personality and how he can relate to kids and everything like that. And it's the same thing, and that's what Ryan Stamper did at Ohio State. And there's certain guys that they just have that personality where it's just like, man, I've been through it. I've been a player, but like also I just can relate, and I have that personality and that like just aura about me where like players like that. And so that's the only downside to Mark Pantoni is he's kind of a nerdy fucking dude. And so he relies on people like Ryan Stamper and Tyvis Powell to help him in recruiting to like relate to these kids. And so if you can get James Blanchard, who I think is like as good as Mark Pantoni in recruiting, but also has the personality to relate and connect with these kids, I think it's a slam dunk hire. And
I think the recruiting at Notre Dame is so different.
Well, it is. You're selling a different thing. As much as Notre Dame is on the same level as Ohio State competitively in certain ways, you're selling a very different product
and night
experience.
Games.
Yeah, all that. I mean, Ohio State doesn't have night games.
They play at noon.
Yeah, I get that, but even that, like Notre Dame's a different experience, and it's not for everybody. There are certain people that it's not for.
National schedule.
Okay. But yeah, and speaking of the schedule, if you want to do this real quick, we can jump into the schedule next year. Have you seen the schedule?
I peeked at it.
Let's jump into it because not by choice. Yeah, well, if you were independent, you would have a choice. So here's the schedule for next year. Oh, hold on. That's Bill Belichick's book. I don't know how that happened. There we go. Schedule for next year. Obviously, week 1, down in South Beach. Miami, Carson Beck. Not a bad little start.
No, and then
you have essentially 2 weeks off. You got a bye week because you play week 0. And then A&M at home, Purdue at home, Arkansas, which nobody's talking about that game, but that's an interesting game. Arkansas on the road, Boise State, NC State, USC at home because they will never, ever come to Notre Dame after October. Boston College on the road, Navy, Pitt, Syracuse, Stanford. Now, when you look at the schedule, what do you think, Duke?
There's a couple games that I think obviously will be huge draws. Miami, I would say A&M probably be a night game.
Probably, yeah.
NBC will probably want that at night.
Yeah, for sure.
Purdue will probably be noon.
It's at Notre Dame, so it'll probably be like a 2:30 kick.
Yeah, it'll probably be that 3:30 slot. Arkansas will probably be
probably 3:30.
I don't know about that because it's going to be on ESPN, won't it?
Yeah, and they don't really do noon games anymore.
No, ESPN doesn't. So it'll either be 3:30 or night game. Boise State will be a day game. I think that's very interesting. Boise got on the schedule, but the new Pac-12 or whatever they're calling that thing out west they need opponents. NC State, I don't know what Dave Doran's got cooking up there. I think they're in a little bit of a transition because they've had, Grayson McCall's skull got caved in.
Yeah.
And he had to retire. SC will most likely. You think that'll be a night game?
Yes. Yeah.
Boston College, probably. I would say Boston College. I would say Boston College will be a night game.
At Boston College, yeah, it could be.
Because I think
depends on that.
If Notre Dame's ranked really high, I think that'll be a good call for ESPN. Navy will be early. Man, I don't know about Pitt. 3:30? Because who the hell knows what Pitt's going to be?
Yeah. God damn, why does that keep switching? That's fucking weird.
Syracuse at home, Fran Brown, depends on where they're ranked, probably 3:30.
Yeah.
Stanford will be a night game just on
because it's in Stanford.
Yeah, because it's a West Coast game, and I believe that'll be on ESPN. So you know what? You know what's funny here? Outside of the ACC games, is Carter getting paid by Bill Belichick? It awfully seems like he keeps showing that book.
Right. Jesus.
But I just feel like that. I feel like that ESPN is kind of going to give Notre Dame their own little showcase.
Yeah.
With the ACC opponents, and
they should.
The Clemson fans are crying about having to put Notre Dame on the schedule like they are, and I find that interesting, to say the least. You would think
that's an interesting thing that came out. The fact that Notre Dame is going to have to play a rotating schedule of 2 of the 3 best ACC schools there are. Every year they have to play at least 2 of Florida State, Miami, and Clemson. Notre Dame, like I saw a comment earlier, Notre Dame's just bailing the ACC out at this point.
I'll say this. Sid brings a comment here. Clemson needs more meat on their schedule.
Pause.
I will definitely throw this out there. It's, we brought up the fact that the TV deal got done. Are you shocked by that? And then all of a sudden, Notre Dame is playing Clemson and Florida State in Miami. That's going to be the rotation. Does anybody find that really strange after they re-up the TV deal?
Well, no. I mean, that's obviously why they did it.
This is just outsider looking in, because I have no insider sources when it comes to like the house NCAA stuff or TV stuff. I don't know anybody, but I'm just saying that they pulled some people in a room and said, okay, in order for us to pay you more money to stay in this conference, you got to do this. I'm just saying, I don't know.
Notre Dame agrees to it, but so one of the things I have a question about is is Notre Dame contractually obligated to that? Because ESPN made a deal with the ACC, which Notre Dame is not a part of. So is Notre Dame contractually obligated to play 2 of those 3 schools through 2036? Because if so, that changes things.
Okay, let's.
And is ESPN paying Notre Dame?
No, I don't think the ACC.
If they're not, if Notre Dame is not getting compensated for that, they aren't contractually obligated to it. I promise you, they're not stupid.
They're not stupid, but we do know who the head coach is, right?
Of what, Notre Dame?
No, yeah,
but he has no say in any of this.
And Buttigieg is building a brand new football building that's costing a lot of money, right? They're building all these facilities and stuff like that. So when push comes to shove, I know you have PTSD from Mr. Family, but there is, and they got rid of Jack, which didn't really do Jack. Let's put this in context here. Notre Dame is putting the steps forward to bringing it back to what Notre Dame was. They're not running from anybody. And there was a lot of comments from Buttigieg that, with the conference realignment, he didn't like the schedule. And it was out of his hands, in my opinion. It was out of his hands because these games are scheduled 4 years in advance. But
I agree with you.
They're making the necessary steps to go back to Notre Dame playing, like Penn State, Miami.
So here's where I was going with that question: is Notre Dame contractually obligated to play those games? Because if they are, and let's say things change in college football, is it going to hinder their ability to, let's say, join the Big Ten if that's what they deem necessary? That's where I'm going with it.
I would think,
because if they aren't contractually obligated, then fuck it. Like, yeah, we'll play all your best teams every year. I don't care. As soon as we decide we want to join the Big Ten, if that's what we decide, like, let's say the Big Ten and the SEC do what everybody seems to think they're going to do, right? And they go and they start their own thing where it's just Big Ten, SEC, and Notre Dame, in order to get a seat at the table, has to join the Big Ten. Are they now contractually obligated to the ACC and ESPN through 2036? Because if so, that's
I know
it's a question.
I know this much. Well, actually, I don't know because I don't know anybody, but I've just been right on this house settlement stuff.
Yeah.
The word that I was told is that this is going to be somewhat of a package deal. The TV networks want the ACC because they paid for it.
Yeah, they already did, and they don't want it to die.
Exactly. And Fox and the TV deal for the Big 12 is wonky. Mm-hmm. I'd have to read it closer.
Yeah.
But the big, I think all four major conferences they're just going to go eventually. And now
I agree.
Here's the thing that the writers are complaining in certain pockets of the country. There's a couple in the Big 12, a couple over here, a couple over there, complaining about Notre Dame being independent. The big thing is that Notre Dame draws. They have a huge fan base.
You can complain all you want. You have no power over Notre Dame. Sorry. And even Ohio State fans. I've talked to Ohio State fans in the past couple of weeks that are like, dude, why doesn't Ohio State just start their own network? And they can't.
Because
they aren't allowed to.
And I would not be shocked if Notre Dame doesn't look at that.
Well, they don't need to.
Well,
they already have a partner.
In one of the things that where I was going with this is that ESPN is in bed with the ACC and the SEC big time. Now, there's a couple people from the SEC complaining about, well, Notre Dame does this, Notre Dame does that. Well, the thing you have to realize is that, you box yourself in a conference. Notre Dame has complete control over what they do.
Yeah, and they refuse to give that control up, which is why Joe's comment, I agree. ND wouldn't put themselves in a precarious position like that. I agree completely. I highly doubt this agreement with the ACC and the ESPN. I highly doubt Notre Dame is contractually tied to it because they would never agree. Because the one thing Notre Dame's done a great job of is maintaining its independence and its freedom to do whatever the fuck it wants. Because at the end of the day, and this is, I love that we're getting to this point because I have had to listen for the past decade. Why don't you join a conference? Conferences are the way to go. And now, as the conferences are going the way they're going and the way college football is going, I have big schools like Ohio State fans and Georgia fans and Texas fans come to me and they're like, yeah, I mean, why doesn't Ohio State just start its own network and then force everybody to pay them? And I'm like, because they can't. And if they could, they would be called an independent school. And that's what I've said for years is what Notre Dame is doing. And college football has just flowed towards that. And because what Ohio State's doing right now, Ohio State and Michigan are carrying the Big Ten on Fox and on the networks. That's why, how many times a year do you see a big noon kickoff of Rutgers versus Maryland? Never. It's always Michigan versus Iowa, Ohio State versus Rutgers, and because you need one big brand. Now, why is Maryland and Rutgers and these schools that can't draw any numbers themselves getting the same exact paycheck as Ohio State every year?
Well, that's one of my arguments because I think if they completely redo it, I would be for relegation.
Yeah.
Because if you a lot of people, I hate to make this a little bit about soccer, but the way the English Premier League is set up, every conference, the bottom 2 teams, see you later.
Hey, go join the MAC.
Or you got to be in the Sun Belt for a season.
The
TV networks would never go for it, but it would completely put some of these schools where they belong.
Why not? The TV networks wouldn't go for it. Why? Because you'd lose Rutgers?
Well, because they have the agreement. They have the media rights with all the schools in the conference.
Well, you can rewrite that. And if you like, it's all about money. I agree, Sid. It's about the money, and that's why I think. I'm telling you what, and when I think it was the new AD at Ohio State or at Notre Dame, Buttigieg or whatever.
Yeah.
I think it was him who said, "There's never been a better time to be independent."
Balakwa.
Balakwa. Buttigieg is that fucking transportation secretary that sucked. But Balakwa or Balakwa.
I believe it's Bavakwa or something like that.
Yeah. Yes, but he said there's never been a better time to be more independent. Yeah, Bavakwa. There we go. Thank you, Sid. But he said that never been a better time to be independent, and everybody was like, "Oh my God, what do you mean you can't get a first round bye? You can't do this?" And it's like, yeah, we can't. You're right. Guess what? That's going to change too, because everybody got so up in arms about Boise State getting a first round bye that they're going to get rid of the conference championship first round bye. That's happening. And when it does, Notre Dame's going to be eligible. On top of that, Notre Dame just made $20 to $30 million by making the national championship game. Ohio State made $4.
And so this is funny. So look at this. At Rally House, they put on their whatever it was for their Fort Wayne site that they had the what is it? The Peach Bowl shirts. Sold out.
Yeah.
So let's not pretend that, some of these universities don't or are not making any money at all. But I'm just saying, Ohio State and Michigan are definitely carrying the water for the Big Ten.
Yeah, and then you got Penn State that helps out a little bit. Oregon probably helps. But when you look at the bottom half of the Big Ten or even the SEC, like, you think Mississippi State's carrying ratings?
When they're good. When they're good.
Okay, yeah. 30 years ago.
Well,
got it.
They were good with Mullen, but
yeah, when Dak Prescott was there. Gotcha.
2014. They were the first ever ranked number 1 in the college football playoff.
Yeah, how'd that go?
I'm just saying. Dakota Prescott.
Yeah. Okay. Anyways, yeah, and he's about to be Cleveland Browns' next quarterback. But
oh no, they ain't getting rid of Dak. Jerry.
No, after they hired Brian Schottenheimer, they're not. But Shador might go to Cleveland. Woo.
Now anyways, that is someone's worst nightmare that's related to you, and I will love to see.
He wants it. He loves it. He thinks Shador's QB1.
I guess we'll see.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know.
I don't disagree. Andre kind of looks like Dak's twin. I don't know about that, Grizz.
I'm way better looking than Dak Prescott.
Oh, boy. Okay. I love the confidence. Joe, I feel bad for Browns fans. You know what, Joe? I believe you're a Lions fan, and the fact that you say that really upsets me. I don't disagree with you, and I wish I was a Lions fan, but I liked it better when Lions fans were in the same boat with us. We could sympathize or empathize with each other. But having Lions fans be like, "Oh, I feel so bad for you," it cuts even deeper.
Yeah, so but, I don't know.
Jesus. Okay, Joe's a Giants fan. Never mind. I thought you were a Lions fan for a Giants fan. Jesus Christ. a Lions fan or a Giants fan. I mean, yeah, you. I mean, at least Eli got you 2 Super Bowls. That's nice. It's something I can't relate to. But imagine having Saquon Barkley and picking Danny Dimes over him.
No, Joe Shane said, I don't pay my quarterback $40 million to hand the football off.
No, now you pay him $40 million to not be on the team.
Well, I think they split it or something. Like, that's just how it is. Also, Dave's here. Just wanted
Dave's here.
Dave's here. So, I mean, at that jump off point, that is where we're at.
Yes, Roger Dodger, who's a USC fan and one of the only USC fans that I respect. Browns have been bad for so long. Browns fans know what they're signing up for. I agree. I unfortunately didn't sign up for it. I was born into it, and they've been bad my entire life. That's all I know. So I did really enjoy the one playoff win that we have in my life, and it was glorious. That day that we just took the Steelers and just took them to the woodshed.
That's hey, it happens, but when you got 6 Lombardis in the old trophy case.
We have 6 championships too. I don't want to hear it.
So yeah, I mean, at that point, I ain't got nothing else, Carter. You got anything?
No. I mean, we'll save some of this other stuff for Monday probably. But I appreciate everybody in the chat. You guys have been great tonight. That's why I decided to do this, and I think it's a lot of fun, right? Do a little Fan Friday where you guys control the direction of the show. It can go off the rails at any moment. But I appreciate all you guys tuning in. Make sure you hit that like button, like the episode, like the show, subscribe to the show, hit the bell notifications, all that stuff. Really appreciate everybody tuning in. We are moving and grooving, as somebody might say. And we are getting really close to a certain level where we'll be able to add some extra stuff to the show, including super chats and stuff like that, which will be so fun. I'm excited for that. And if we get to, so I don't know when the spring game is going to be, but I'm planning to go to the spring game at Notre Dame. And if we get to, I think it's 500 subscribers is the goal right now. We're on a road to 1,000. But if we get to 500 subscribers before the spring game, we'll do something special for the spring game. Or at least I will, because I'm planning to go anyways.
Right on. Well, with that being said, everybody enjoy your Friday night. Oh man, this is great. But yeah, and everybody enjoy your Friday night, and we'll see you back Monday, 7:30. Maybe we'll have Richie, maybe we won't. So we'll see what that is, and we'll see what happens over the weekend, and it's Super Bowl week. Who's excited to see a replay of the Super Bowl?
We are going to talk about our favorite Taylor Swift songs all week.
With that being said, everybody have a good night. Enjoy your Friday night. Don't drink and drive. Be safe. Everybody have a good night.